Today, as I said at the very beginning, we're celebrating the feast of the presentation of the Lord. And for those who are very, who do the rosary almost every day, we're celebrating a feast that is focused on the third joyful mystery, the presentation of Jesus into the temple. Today is 40 days after the celebration of the birth of Jesus. From Christmas, if you keep counting the days, it's 40 days up to this point. In Jewish culture, 40 days after a child was born, the child was presented by the parents to God in the temple in Jerusalem. And according to the law of Moses, all the firstborn male children and animals belonged to God. Animals were sacrificed, but for children, of course, the parents presented an exchange. They bought an animal that was sacrificed and went back with their firstborn child. So there was some kind of an exchange that happened. As devout Jews, Joseph and Mary made the trip to Jerusalem to present the child Jesus to God in the temple and consecrate him to God, as was the tradition for all the firstborn boys. For them being poor, and they could not afford a goat or a sheep that was required of such presentations, they instead used the alternative, which was 2 turtle doves. You could be able to get 2 turtle doves and offer that as an offering for your firstborn kid. This feast day is also known as the Candlemas Day, where Christ is presented to the world as the light of the world. And in the past, candles were always lit to symbolize what he meant for the whole world. And this day was also an invitation for all the baptized of what it means for them to go out and be the light of the world as well. This very day was also designated by St. John Paul II as World Day for Consecrated Life. And St. John Paul II said that the purpose for setting aside the special day for consecrated life was to help the entire church to esteem more greatly the witness of those persons who have chosen to follow Christ by means of the practice of the evangelical counsels. We're talking of the vows of poverty and chastity and obedience. And this day was also meant to help us to be a suitable occasion for people who have those vows, who have consecrated themselves, to renew their commitment and rekindle the fervor which should inspire their offering of themselves to the Lord. So please remember all of us who are vowed religious on this special day when we reflect on our vocation in the church. And if you have any friends who belong to any elders, such as the Franciscans, the Benedictines, the Dominicans, the Holy Cross, the Carthusians, the Salesians, the Missionaries of Charity, the Divine Mercy Sisters, the Augustinians, this is a day for you to remember them, to wish them a good feast day and also affirm them in their vocation, because it's very, very, very special. Now, when we speak about consecrating something or someone, we mean also declaring it or setting it aside for sacred purposes. This is consecrated. So you've set it aside for a sacred purpose. It can be an article, it can be a building, it can be a person, set aside for God or for some sacred role or purpose. In our Mass today, the bread and the wine that we're going to have, that are fruits of human hands, is going to be presented to God as gifts, and it will be prayed over and consecrated to become the real body and blood of Christ. Through a sacred process that is going to happen, ordinary things or ordinary people can be transformed into something totally different that belongs to God or is of God. Our church has different and several acts of consecrating our individual selves or consecrating spaces and consecrating articles and setting them aside for God and also for sacred purposes. These are practices we need to start renewing in our individual lives or family lives and also even community lives. In the past, homes used to have altars where they set aside spaces dedicated to God. In the past, people used to consecrate themselves to the Sacred Heart of Jesus or the Immaculate Heart of Jesus and Immaculate Heart of Mary, where they set themselves apart for sacred purposes. These are valuable practices we need to look into again and try to put to use. Just look in what ways can I also be able to consecrate myself or even consecrate a space in my home for purposes that are divine. In this Mass, we are reminded that whatever we have has simply been lent to us by God. Today is a good day for us to ask ourselves, which part of my life do I need to consecrate to God? It's a good day for us to ask ourselves, what is it that I own that I need to increasingly look at more as a gift from God? And may the Lord in this Mass imbue us with a spirit of gratitude. And we may also ask the Lord to imbue us with a spirit of generosity, that we can be able to return part of who we are and what we have and what He has given to us, that we can be able to return it to Him. Amen.
Amen.